Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ibrahim, Nwagui Co, and this is another installment of our check-in series where the motto is if you call yourself a hustler or an influencer, you got to check in. Tonight, we're having another great conversation. I'm excited about it. This brother he has many things going on across the country, and not only across the country, but in the motherland and in our country of origin as well. And so I'm excited to talk to this brother, man. And once again, for everyone who always comes back and checks us out, I want to thank you guys. And for the newcomers, I want to thank you guys for joining us. The premise of what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks is centered around entrepreneurs and how COVID has affected their grind, their workflow, and but we don't just deal in situations that are terrible, and we don't try to find a solution. So we also ask them, how has this spawned innovation, and lastly, we want to know how we can support them. And so that's what we've been doing, man. And like I said, we've been doing it for I think this is week 3 at this point. So, yeah, like I said, so, as I always say, I'll wait for our guest for the night to come on. I'll allow him to introduce himself, and then we're going to go from there, man. Also, if you haven't already, check out my last post. If you are interested, I'm not sure if you are, but if you're interested in, my check-in, I'm going to be doing my check-in on Saturday, this coming Saturday. That it's going to be in the morning time. It's got to be on my time. So my time is morning time on Saturday. So it's going to be at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also obviously 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. So come on past, and you can kind of get a little insight on who I am and what I've done, what I'm doing, and what I plan to do in the future. So, like I said, man, this thing, I've been allowing this thing to just kind of, grow its own legs and go wherever it's going to go. All right, so we're waiting, and then once, like I said, once our guest comes on, and then we can get right into it, man. I think that you guys are going to enjoy this one. And let's see what I have here. Make sure my connectivity, while I'm asking about everybody else's connectivity, make sure that mine is good. All right. We're good to go. Let me send my guy another thing here. And we're on. Let's see. It says that we're, and like I said, people who are hearing this, via audio, I mean, guys singing. It says that we're waiting for him to come on. So normally that appears at the bottom, and then a little while after, the person pops right up. So let's just wait it out, have a little patience, and see what happens once everything comes on. I just requested. Yeah, it's showing. Let me see here. It's showing waiting for Mad Writer, so it's unable to join. Okay, let's try this again. I'm adding you now. Maybe we might have requested each other at the same time. There we go.
All right now.
All right, we good, man. We good now, man. I think we might have requested to get on at the same time, and it probably bumped up against each other.
Gotcha.
Mr. Akindele.
Yes, sir.
Now, first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with me, man, and and just sharing some things. I know we spoke offline. Your thing is like loading or whatever. It's frozen. Okay, we good. I know we spoke offline, but just kind of recap what I and want to make sure that whoever comes on, they know what the reason for this thing is. And the reason is I've been checking in with just people that I know behind the scenes, specifically people who are running businesses, organizations, and just initiatives. And so I decided to check in with people out loud, and we can allow people that may know me that might want to be a part of whoever I'm checking in with, or allow them to, just make the introduction, man, and also just as your community, how can we better support? So before I get into any of that, all of my little jargon, I want to invite you to first introduce yourself and give a little bit of background into your business and how you started with what you have now with GABA.
Thanks a lot, my brother. For your audience, my name is Akindele Akinyemi. I am the president, founder, and co-founder and CEO of the Global African Business Association. We were founded in 2014 in Inkster, Michigan, about 10 to 15 miles west of Detroit, right next to the airport, Detroit Metropolitan Airport. GABA is a business education and business support network association. We help African-based businesses primarily with business planning, grant writing, startup capital, and also some economic development assistance by navigating the economic issues within the city they're trying to set up in. And what that means is, let's say, for instance, if they need some incentives from the city, we help negotiate that. If they're trying to get in front of the mayor or city council, we assist with things like that and build those relationships on behalf of the businesses. We specialize, our focus is mostly in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, in terms of creating an industry and linking the wealth. Now, what does that mean, linking the wealth? What that means is taking resources from the continent of Africa and linking them here in the U.S. So, for instance, let's say, for instance, we have a city like Inkster that is 24,000 residents, 6 square miles, with a poverty rate of 35 to 40%, an unemployment rate from 9 to 10%, and it continues to lose businesses. What do you do in a situation like that? Black folks from Detroit is not moving to Inkster. People from Ecorse, Michigan, which is also another black city in Metro Detroit, they're not really moving to Inkster because they feel like, well, it's the same demographic, same issues. Why am I moving to Inkster? What's the return on investment? People are not doing that. Well, our game plan is to link the continent with the U.S. in terms of businesses, in terms of economic resources, and vice versa. African Americans, we assist if they want to do business in Africa. If they're looking to crack the market in Africa, we kind of navigate through that. And so it's a two-way street with us in terms of building that wealth, that pipeline of wealth. And we've been working on that for the last 6 years. So we have a team. Our largest team is here in Michigan, of course, but we have a team in Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska has the largest Togolese community in the United States. Most people don't know that. If you're looking for Togo outside of Togo on the continent, go to Omaha, Nebraska. So we have a team there. We have a team in Houston, Texas, where you're at. Yeah. They focus more in Houston, Texas, on business education and media services. In Georgia, that's where my global project specialist and my senior vice president and board director, they reside in Georgia. In New York City, we have a hub there. That's our faith-based coordinator, which ties us with the faith-based community in those areas. And in the DC area, we have technology expert there that train people in cybersecurity for workforce development. And then we have what is called GABA ambassadors, which are located in Nigeria, Cameroon, and Mozambique. They are our eyes and ears on the continent. They're the ones that connect us to groups like ECOWAS, the African Union, and things like that. And so what we're trying to do and what we've been doing is creating that pipeline. Here in Inkster, Michigan, we have successfully done a few things. We're moving forward with the Cultural Arts District in the city of Inkster, where we can drive real estate, mural design. We've already put up a couple of murals in the city. I used to sit on the Downtown Development Authority in the city of Inkster, as well as the Economic Development Corporation, and I was the president of the library board for 2 years, 2 out of 4 years, where I worked on a $1.8 million capital improvement project to build a brand new library in the city of Inkster, and that project is complete. So we have been moving forward in a place like Inkster to prepare a 21st century global hub of commerce. Next door to Inkster is Romulus, Michigan. Romulus, Michigan is where we're working on a grocery store concept. Romulus is 36 square miles, 23,000 residents. It's the home of Detroit Metropolitan Airport, and they have no grocery store. Amazon is there. General Motors is there. It's a 100% food desert. And so we're working on, my logistics director is working on a grocery store. Now, the grocery store is part of the bigger plan, which is developing an African supply chain. And that African supply chain will be a pipeline between that West Africa and here in the state of Michigan. And through the Michigan, we'll be able to distribute African goods and services, foods mostly, agricultural products throughout the United States. And so the supply chain is more of an e-commerce component that he's working on. And we're going to plug all that in into making this thing more global and understanding that Black folks don't have to wait on the government. Black folks don't have to wait on anybody. All we need to do is come together and have a plan, a real plan, not talk, a real plan, and execute the plan to the best of our ability. And that's what we do here in GABA, is support our African-American, African and Caribbean brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora to show that we are one, but not just fighting the power in the streets, but fighting the power in the boardrooms.
100%, 100%, man. You know what? Before I even, and this is the thing, before I even go to the next thing, what I'd like to get from you is what made you, like, what was the final straw for you that made you decide that this is something that you had to do? And also, just keeping it real, what gave you the confidence to say, this is something that I can do? And to have the vision, like, can you kind of expound on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the concept of GABA started in Houston. When I lived in Houston for 2 years, stayed in Southwest Houston, taught in Northeast Houston and Southeast Houston. I was teaching at the time English language arts and reading to a group of middle school students. I connected with my executive vice president. We've known each other since high school. We reconnected on social media. We said, hey, listen, why don't we get together and we just brainstorming. First, we wanted to open a school in Michigan. We were going to open a school in Michigan. And then, we evolved from a school, say, you know what, we really need a business association that's geared towards empowering Africans. So we looked at, we did the research. We saw a few business associations, but one of the things that they didn't have is linking that business association into a actual municipality for economic development, to use that whole city as an incubator to attract businesses from the continent. No one does that. So that concept kind of took fire. She got 2 Gambians to join in, and we created, at the time, it was called the National African Business Association. And so the National African Business Association is the predecessor organization to GABA. So we started real fast, the 4 of us. We got together, we moved it with the speed of light, with meeting with officials and things like that. We looked at a few cities that we wanted to land in. We picked Inkster because of its proximity to the airport, to its proximity to the Detroit River. The Detroit River, for those who are not from here, the Detroit River is an international waterways across from Canada. So we wanted to be strategically located in an area where the government was I hate to use the word broken, but that's what it was, and with no economic with no real economic development, so there wouldn't be no competition. There's a lot of competition in Detroit, in a lot of larger cities. That's where all the money is going. So Inkster gives us a fresh start, and what we've been doing for the last 6 years is courting these immigrants, African immigrants, to come to the city and invest. Now, what gave me the confidence? Well, what gave me the confidence was there was no competition. And in terms of what we're doing, we have African organizations out there that are, business association, chamber of commerces, but they're more traditional. You understand? They're more like, the dinners and the fundraisers, and everybody go about their business. My association is a working association. That means when you pay your dues, I'm going to put you to work. Just because you're a paid member doesn't mean that I take your money and that's it. I don't do that. You're going to be engaged some kind of way, because I want to see, you need to see your return on investment in this organization. And everybody who's in this organization, who's a business owner or just a member, have seen a return on investment. So in terms of mentorship, in terms of businessship, in terms of plugging them with resources, creativity, giving you the space to develop your own autonomous creativity the way you see fit to benefit GABA, I'll allow that. I'm not a micromanager. I don't have time to micromanage because time, time is of the essence. So my confidence, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of shaky when we first started. I'm like, what in the hell am I doing? This may not work. But
that's why I wanted to ask. Yeah.
But as time went on, and people started gravitating to the message. People started seeing how we're fastly evolving. People started seeing results. That's when I realized that this is my calling. It's almost like a ministry. And so my job in 2020, regardless of COVID-19 or no COVID-19, my job in 2020 is to link the wealth, because nobody's talking about this. The state of Michigan sits on the Great Lakes, okay? The state of Michigan does not do any business with Africa. That's insane. Sit on the international waterway. It does business with Brazil, in Canada and Mexico, Singapore, Germany, the UK, and Saudi Arabia, but does not do business with, and China doesn't do any business with Africa. No countries.
I feel like that, and I may be wrong, but I feel like there's a certain air that still lingers from the General Motor days. Well, it's very like, they almost look like they don't want to look outside, because they were like, for so long, they were the epicenter of commerce for, throughout the rest of the country with having such a big organization there. So I think that other places they might have been more prone to look outside, but I feel like the air there is like, we can do it ourselves.
Well, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler are all here, and the automotive industry is very strong here in the state of Michigan and in the United States in general. But here's my thing: we produce cars in Africa. We have car companies in Africa. So my thing is, how come you can't develop a research and development park where we are researching and developing the technology here in the U.S., we build the cars there on the continent, and you export them everywhere with that made in Africa stamp on it, or made in Nigeria, or made in Kenya, or made in Ghana. You understand? That's linking the wealth. Those are the conversations we have to have in the 21st century as Black people. We don't. We have. I'll give you another example. You have a place called Tantalizers in Nigeria. Tantalizers is a fast food restaurant. Tantalizers sell African fast food. You go in, you get your food, and you walk out. Well, there's no Tantalizers here in the United States. Can you imagine setting up a Tantalizers in Houston, Texas, or right here in Michigan or New York? Tantalizers, and you train young African American entrepreneurs who are coming out of high school with an apprenticeship. You're teaching them entrepreneurship to run their own franchise at 18, 19, 20 years old to get themselves out of poverty through an African brand. That's called linking the wealth. That's what we train people. That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do in terms of setting up that strong pipeline to show folks and educate people that this can be done. The problem is we have never had those real conversations. Oftentimes in this country, most African Americans look at Africa as a social justice, as a uh, uh, um, a security issue, or a
Mm-hmm.
cultural issue. We don't look at Africa as a economic destination where it could pull our black communities out of poverty here in the U.S. We just
Right.
don't, because if we were doing that, we would have our own ecosystem and our own supply chain of sustainability, job growth, job creation, a tax base, and our schools would be functioning without going in bankruptcy, because that tax base from the economy, a global economy, will sustain that school district. So I'm saying all that to say that we have to start thinking differently in the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth
Mm-hmm.
industrial revolution is the blend of technology and human spheres into one. We are talking about cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. We're talking about machine learning, 3D printing. These are the new technologies that are right here. And we as a black folk in the African diaspora have to embrace that
Mm-hmm.
to create a new economy for our communities globally.
100%. And that you're speaking to me. You're speaking to a totally different issue that it ties into what you're saying, but it's mindset, right? So we're following propaganda and we're not developing our own ideas of where we come from. Because from what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, that we look at when some people, and specifically African Americans, will take on the mindset of other people's views. So
Mhm.
if I'm looking at Africa as a place that needs my help, opposed to
Right,
as a place that can help me out, well then
right,
I won't even, when I get my money or when I get educated, I won't even think that I can grow by investing in Africa. I think
right,
that when I get my money, then if I feel like a good human being, I'll give some to Africa, you
right,
know, and they're not looking at it like a resource. And that speaks to a mentality outside of, just the norm that we want to admit, that we're taking
right.
on the viewpoints of somebody else's view of our place. Like Africa is our place.
You know,
And
let me give you an example, my brother.
mhm.
J.C. Penney. Everybody
Yeah.
heard of J.C. Penney on this channel. J.C. Penney. The last time, I think last week when I looked at their stock, it's 25 cents a share.
Hmm.
Okay, can you imagine an African venture capitalist or a group of African venture capitalists coming in and just buying J.C. Penney out, removing the board and putting our people on the board?
Hmm.
That's how the game works. Can you? I looked at the shares for, I think it was Tantalizers, 6 cent U.S. dollar a share.
It's crazy.
Okay, can you imagine? Can you imagine that the people on this call, or a group of brothers and sisters from our community here in the United States, taking over Tantalizers by buying up all the shares? Same thing with Zenith Bank. The same thing with GT Bank. There is opportunity. Akon said you could become a millionaire in Africa within 5 years if you have a plan. He's not lying about that. And there are
Mm.
different ways to become a millionaire in Africa, but you have to have a game plan. But once you set the pipeline up between the U.S. and Africa, regardless of what country you go to, whether you're going into STEAM, whether you're going into cultural design, fashion merchandising, textiles, import exports. These are key supply chains that's going to keep our communities sustainable here in the 21st century.
Well, let me ask you this then, because with everything that you have going on, I know that COVID has affected different people in different ways. Some people, it's actually spawned innovation. How would you say that COVID affected the flow of how you were doing things with GABA in the people that are a part of GABA? Did it affect it
It
at
really
all?
didn't. No, it really didn't slow us down because
Okay.
we already have a digital platform, so
Yeah.
we already were on the in terms of meeting space, in terms of exchanging ideas, in terms of putting things together. We already have a digital space. What
Yeah.
we discussed amongst ourselves is how to expand that digital space, in the terms of digital marketing, in the terms of recruiting, in the terms of educating people even more. So, and what we came up with was in fact, I'll tell you this right now, and to your audience, we a good a good friend of ours started a website called Bomalink. Bomalink,
I've heard of that.
Bomalink. Yep, Bomalink.
Yep.
So Bomalink, Bomalink is the African version of LinkedIn, and this is where brothers and sisters like us can come together in our own space and exchange ideas and execute plans without being censored.
Yeah.
Facebook is censoring us. Everybody's censoring us.
Mm-hmm.
But Bomalink, that's our space. Now, Bomalink is very important. On the other flip side of that, it's because not only you can meet people who could do contracts and things like that, but also we control the data. Data is the new oil.
Yeah.
Period. So data is the new oil. So Bomalink, with my fintech director in GABA, she's the chief marketing officer for Bomalink. She's instructed the entire team. Everybody set up a profile. Everybody post. Everybody exchange ideas. Everybody use Bomalink to leverage Bomalink as a means of communication, as a means of strategy, and that's what we're doing right now. And that's just one digital angle of many that we're executing right now in the Global African Business Association.
So is there something that you guys have discovered doing this, and that might be the thing that you didn't really think about before COVID? Has this thing spawned any type of innovation that you weren't thinking about or you weren't heading towards before COVID hit?
I think the most important. I've always been prepared. I wasn't prepared for COVID.
Yeah.
But I've always been prepared for I was prepared for a recession.
Okay.
And I've been tracking I have been tracking a recession for 5 years.
Yeah.
Ever since after we got started, because recessions come in cycles. So I have been trying to stack the deck with top-notch people, digital media folks, people who understand STEM, people who understand digital marketing, digital advertising, people who understand online cyber education. I have been trying to stack the deck for the last 5 years in case something like this occurred. And also not just stacking the deck, but getting enough education to teach the public that when you're in a crisis like this, there are other ways to survive. Right now, what you're seeing across the United States are people panicking. That don't look like us. Look what happened right here in Lansing, Michigan today. You had all these folks with guns and Confederate flags, and they had a noose and all this nonsense, all because of fear. All because of fear. The state is shut down. Oh my God, what's going to happen to the economy? Well, hell, your economy ain't gone out the window. You should be focusing on a new economy.
Your health.
And the problem is the problem with that is they have not been focused on a new economy. They put their trust in the Constitution and they put their trust in man instead of looking at their own innovation within to ensure that there'll be no disruption in case there is a disruption. COVID-19 has opened the door, has opened eyes in terms of mass disruption with everybody on the planet Earth. We got to look at ourselves differently. You go to Africa right now in terms of their health system. They got to improve their health system now. You got to spend more money in your GDP because we should not be our brothers and sisters in Africa should not be flying to Europe or even coming here to America to get seen for a doctor. We should have the best universities in terms of finding vaccines. We should have the best hospitals on the continent. We should have the best clinics on the continent. We have the human capital. We have enough young people who can move, who can get the job done. But now it's time for us to not just think about the innovation, but put the innovation to work. You have things like blockchain technology. You have things like e-commerce is red hot right now. This is the time for us to move certain businesses from brick and mortar to digital, to the digital space. So I'm saying all that. We have been preparing, whether people on the team understand it or not. They know I'm repetitious because I'm trying to get them to understand that this fourth industrial revolution is very real. And that we could take this model that we started in places like Inkster, and we could take it anywhere in the United States or in the world, because We have been training and preparing for this.
So for you are an anomaly, in my opinion, right? Because
Okay.
you have because you prepare. Like there's a lot of people who now there's people that are panicking, and then there's also people who just genuinely like they didn't prepare, and now they're like, well, look, I didn't know, but now I know, and what can I do? So as a person who has sat down and thought these things through, to a person who may not have done that, what would be your bit of advice for people who are trying to now move towards the fourth industrial revolution or a new economy, or just a person who wants to they want to be better going forward?
Well, first of all, first and foremost, when I talk to a person, I need to hear one thing from that person. What's your end goal? What's your vision plan? I need to know that first. You'd be shocked that we can't even get past the vision plan part because they never had a vision. They just wanted to hustle. Hustling is fine, but what's your vision? What's your purpose of hustling? What's your end goal? You'd be surprised that people just want to just make money. If you're in the business of making money, you'll fail. If you're in the business,
I wish there was some certain people on here to hear this part right here. I'm sorry. Keep on going.
If you're in the business of trying to be a millionaire by making money, you'll fail. If you're in the business of providing a phenomenal service with spiritual wisdom, you will succeed. Period, point blank. And the reason why you will succeed is because during this time of crisis, your spiritual wisdom kicks in and say, you know what? I need to reinvent myself. That's the those the kind of advice I give people. GABA is not here to make you a millionaire. GABA is here to help you become sustainable with the proper tools for you to succeed. I'm not here to make you a millionaire. You make yourself a millionaire if that's what you choose. My focus is making you successful. So if you're not a millionaire, but you have provided good services to the public, hey, I've done my job. I spent 20. I'm a veteran in education. Okay, I spent 16 years in education and K-12. I spent the last 4 to 5 years in higher education. And one of the things I try to tell people when they come to me, especially at the community college level, and we're talking about career building and things like that. Well, I want to be in a career that makes a lot of money. Well, you ain't gonna make it because you don't have the discipline to even make a lot of money. Just by the way you're talking. You need to discipline yourself. That means you need to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You need to read about 3 or 4 or 5 newspapers before 7 o'clock. You need to discipline yourself to get off Facebook. You need to discipline yourself to find that niche to really educate yourself so that you can consume it and take control of your destiny. Those are the things I teach people. And those are the things I teach it to my own team. I teach it to those who are not on the team. I teach it on social media. I teach it to racist white folks. Racist white folks come to me all day long talking about they want freedom. I said, nobody's stopping you from getting freedom. The only reason why you pissed off with these states being shut down of COVID-19 is because you weren't prepared. Period. You weren't prepared. You thought the economy was good. You listened to Donald Trump. You really believed this man that the economy was good. The economy was not good. And now here you are with 30 million people unemployed in the U.S. The unemployment rate is 20%. Your economy is at a standstill because you weren't prepared. And that's the truth. And that's the truth. Black folks, and so now, what do black people do? Since black people, the unemployment rate with black folks is 19% right now in the United States. What do we, under COVID-19, what do we do? The first thing we need to do is identify our global market. And our global market is the Caribbean and Africa. If someone is running a grocery store or a market, that person needs to be talking to someone overseas to create a small supply chain and get resources, not just from within the country, but out of the country, shipped here. If you're in the business of shipping, import, exports, to be a distributor, your distribution hub should be a foreign trade zone. A foreign trade zone works like this. I own a distribution hub. You own a grocery store. Well, I'm getting these products from Nigeria. When it hits that foreign trade zone, I'm not being taxed on my products until it hit the retail market. The government can't tax me wholesale. It's even better. if it's coming from Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya, because there's something called the African Growth Opportunity Act. That's AGOA. Anything, any products under AGOA is tariff free. So while the United States is battling China about tariffs and a trade war, we should be embracing our own trade right here in the U.S., right in Africa through AGOA. And then guess what? We have our own ecosystem set up. We don't have to hold hands with anybody. The only time we go to the government is to apply for certain grants, certain loans, and certain resources. When we sending people to Congress out of our community, we're not sending them to change laws per se. We're sending them there to help earmark the resources we need to bring back into the community, to empower the community from a global market. That's what we're doing by hiring people that look like us in the job market. That's what we need to be doing. We don't need to beg in the 21st century when we have the internet.
Man, you speaking the word, my brother. You are speaking a word, man. I'm telling you. And you see my face because I'm like, I'm soaking it all up, man. Like, in a nutshell, if you're not understanding what this conversation pertains to, this conversation pertains to looking at your hands, and your hands being an extension of yourself. That means your brothers, your sisters, the people that you identify with, and using those resources. Let's look at our own hands and begin to do our own work. To me, COVID-19 has revealed a lot. It's pulled the cover off of a lot of people's work ethic. It's pulled the cover off of a lot of people's facade of the work that they've been doing. And man, I'm just excited about it because I feel like all of the people who really want to get something done, like this thing that I'm doing, that I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, literally, like I said, man, I told my homeboy, man, I want to let's get on here and let's just talk to each other, and it's more therapeutic. Like, okay, let's talk to each other during this time, like, because I want people to feel comfortable, specifically African American men, to feel comfortable with talking through things. And so some people got it all together. Some people, when we had these conversations, they realize that they don't have it all together. And I'm saying, it's okay. I got your back. What can I do? What can we do? And that like, I'm just excited about I'm excited about the direction that the people that I'm around, that I'm associating with. I just feel like there's a dynamic shift, man.
I want to chime in on something I haven't talked about, and that's real estate.
Okay.
We have a lot of brothers and sisters in real estate, and this is what I want to share with them. Real estate is the most important component in GABA, because if we don't own the properties, if we're not trying to get the properties, we don't control the land, we don't control anything. It's a waste of time. One of the things about real estate that's important outside of commercial and residential properties, Black folks in America must understand what the EB-5 is. The EB-5 investor visa is a very powerful visa to restructure our communities. It is an investor visa where we can go to Nigeria, we can go to Kenya, we can go to South Africa, we can go to Ghana, and court investors who want to help rebuild our community. Maybe they want to build a hotel. Maybe they want to do a housing project or a condominium project. Maybe they want to build a movie theater. Maybe they want to build maybe they want to do some other manufacturing. And what happens is, if it's done in a low-income community, as long as those group of investors can pull $900,000 minimum in a low-income community and create a turnkey project and hire a minimum of 10 U.S. workers or more, they get a green card. We get the development, they get a green card, and their family get a green card. And here's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is China, for a long time, was dominating the EB-5 system here in the United States. Yeah. They have a backlog. They have a backlog of 10 years. That means they can't get a green card for 10 years. India can't get a green card for 10 years. Vietnam can't get a green card for 7 years. But if you're from Nigeria, it only take about, if it's a solid project, 18 months. Every African-American real estate agent whether you're a commercial or or a residential broker or a realtor, need to know about EB5. Period. Because that is a gateway. That's a gateway to attracting talent and investment in this country. And EB5 is nothing new. It's been around since 1990. When the last crash occurred in 2008, and banks were hoarding money. You know, banks stopped giving out money.
Yeah.
Everybody turned to the EB5 system. It's what investors were doing. That's what developers were doing. They were turning to the EB5 system. And that's how they got their projects done. I think the part of the Pennsylvania Turnpike in Philadelphia is built with EB5 money. I think the Comcast Center in Philadelphia was built with EB5 money. There are states like Michigan has an EB5 regional center. Where is the African American EB5 regional center? Where we can court these investors that look like us from the continent, from the Caribbean, here in the U.S., to rebuild our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, the tools are there. It's in fine print. We need to take advantage of these tools to help rebuild our community. There is money set aside from USDA right now that can bring people here to the U.S. and send them to school to learn about agricultural technology. So
Man,
you can be Go ahead.
No. I want to interject because I have a question, right? And I
Yes,
want
sir.
your opinion.
Okay.
So there's this EB5 where people from the continent can invest in projects here, right?
Yes, sir.
Largely the demographic that they invest with are not the African American people, right? Do you think that is that more of a us on this side situation, and we're not organized enough to accept, or is it a them on that side? And I hate to even use those divisive words.
Oh, no, that's a good question. No, that's a good question, and it's both. Oh, I know exactly where you're going. It's both because we don't understand.
Okay.
Most of us have never heard of it.
Yeah.
And in Africa, they have never heard of it either. And
Really?
so a few people, and I've ran across in Nigeria that live in Nigeria know about EB5. But South Africa has taken advantage of it. Some Nigerians have taken advantage of it. And then we move into North Africa, like Egypt, they take advantage of it all the time. But here in the States, you have the National Association of Realtors. They lobby day in and day out to keep the EB5 system, the regional center, going. A regional center is a designation by USCIS, okay? So that means with a regional center, with that designation, you can get a pool of investors to invest in a specific project if you have that regional center. And that's why I said, where is the African American EB5 regional center? We don't have one. And the reason why we don't have one is because we haven't been educated as a community to take advantage of this. Well, that's what we teach in GABA. We teach the education side of EB5 so we can help brothers and sisters do this. And the reason why, and we educate people on the continent about EB5 through webinars and things like that. And the reason why we do these things is because we got to learn how to play the game. It's 21st century.
Yeah.
We sitting up here today. I was just reading this morning, 90% of minority and women businesses are locked out of PPP from the SBA. The first time SBA gave that money out, it was $340 billion, $349 billion gone. Okay. Then they found out these companies like Ruth Chris Steakhouse and the LA Lakers was getting this money, right? Then they sent out another $310 billion, right? Small business, right? Then they sent out another $310 billion. We still locked out of it. So what is the alternative? What is the alternative for us? Part of the problem is we have to start being innovative. Here's an example. You have GT Bank in Nigeria, and you have Zenith Bank in Nigeria, and Ghana, and parts of West Africa, okay? How come we can't set up a credit union and make that a subsidiary of those banks on the continent where we have money transfers, we create our own credit scoring system, our own consumer system, where we generate our own credit score. We ain't talking about Experian, TransUnion, and all that. We're talking about our own stuff. Okay. We determine that this person is going to get this. The other lenders won't give them no money or her no money. We determine because we control the underwriting.
Yeah.
And guess what? We got a special thing. We call it we got a partnership with the US XMIM Bank. Now, what is the US XMIM Bank? That's a federal bank. No, you can't put money in the US XMIM Bank, but what they can help you with is, if, let's say, for instance, you want to set up a food processing unit in Uganda, and you want to process this type of food with American resources. If you qualify, they can help you with trade, financing, shipping, and all that to send over to Uganda. Most black banks are not on board with the US XMIM Bank because most of them don't know what it is. But see, it's these type of federal tools that are at our disposal day in and day out. U.S. Commercial Services, U.S. XMIM Bank, these are federal tools that you and I pay for out of our tax dollars to penetrate the market in Africa. The reason why we don't do it is because we don't know about it most of the time.
I'm gonna say something I'm gonna say something because I definitely have I have something that I want to add to that too. I just don't want to forget.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So if you have a financial institution here that's connected to a US XMIM Bank, that means that underwriter, if that person is a trade finance underwriter, based on that financial institution's criteria and the US XMIM Bank's criteria, you may be able to qualify faster because it's a small institution and it's connected to a financial institution on the continent. That's the kind of ecosystem and pipeline we got to set up, because this is the 21st century. Banks are not helping us, especially large banks. Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They when you see these things like, oh, we're going to give $6 million to Sharpstown in Houston to African American business owners, that's because most of the time they've been sued.
Yeah.
And the person that sued them won, so they got to give the money out. Anyway, so we have to create our own ecosystem. Yes.
Yeah. No, you 100% right, man. So this is something that I've been working on, right? And I kind of told you about it because when I hear these things, I kind of have a duality, right? Because obviously, like, I grew up here in the United States, but then I have my lineage in Nigeria. And so
right.
I began to kind of develop, I just been paying attention to how certain people move, right?
Right.
I think that the plan that you have, I think it's less of a knowledge thing or educational thing, why people aren't doing it. I think that it's more of, that's why I led with this question, it's more of a confidence thing, right? Because even there's a lot of people who are educated, who they're educated and they won't believe in what you're talking about. So that's the second, that's the real layer that like the things that I've been trying to put together. That's the layer that I've been trying to develop something to attack, because I feel like what you're saying, this should have been implemented. Like it just makes so much sense. So I'm wondering, well, why hasn't it been implemented? So then you have people like you who are on the front line, and you have you have a group of people who are educated and they're ferocious, right? Because that like, to me, that is a rare combination. People that are educated and can be comfortable in the current system, but choose to resist that and go with what makes sense for the whole. How do we undo, like, so before we can even like present this to a certain group of people who make up the majority of who we're trying to reach,
Right.
how do we get them to first have the confidence to say, you know what, I don't have the resources. They're not giving me the resources, and they've never given me the resources. It's time for me to make my own thing. Like, what's the breaking point? What's the threshold? Because I mean, people just have gotten beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, and it seems like people don't want to fight back. Are we
Well, first of
tired?
all, no, we're not tired. We just don't know. We have a lack of understanding. The thing is, in business, you're gonna have ups and downs. Okay,
Right.
especially when you're starting off. You're gonna have 1,000. You're gonna have 100 no's and one yes. You take that one yes and you run with it. The thing is, we don't understand it is because we've never had these conversations at this level in the 21st century. We have had conversations around Africa that's based on, like I said earlier, social justice, cultural, whether like the year of return of when everybody was going to Ghana last year, which was good. It was a good tourism tool for Ghana. Bring back our girls with Nigeria. That was a social justice movement.
Right.
When the girl got kidnapped. Or we look at security issues. If you're a federal lawmaker in D.C., part of the Congressional Black Caucus, most of the time when you talk about Africa, particularly West Africa, like Nigeria,
It's a negative
those are
conversation.
security issues, security issues like Boko Haram,
Yeah.
or you're looking at Somalia, Abu Shabab, and those type of those type of terror organizations, or AFRICOM. The U.S. military is there training these, but you got this kind of stuff. We never talk about the continent as a ecosystem, as a supply chain. You have something right now called the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's initiated by the African Union. The question we should be asking ourselves is, where do African American businesses in this country, small or medium, fit into that African Continental Free Trade Area? If you own a business in Houston, Texas, and you decide to set up an LTD in Nigeria or Cameroon or wherever, your business, now your business is global. You have a presence on the continent, and you have a presence in the U.S. Where the U.S., your business in the U.S. may be the retail end, but on the continent it may be the manufacturing end.
Right.
You may be able to trade with your counterpart in East Africa or Zimbabwe or Botswana, but you're participating in that African Continental Free Trade Area because you, as an American, and you're exporting your own resources back home for retail use here in the United States. That's the strategy we got to implement. And we do that by education, business education. And that's what we try to do in GABA, is business education. And that's the reason why we've been very successful in empowering people with that type of business education and with that type of business support, pointing people in the right direction. Let's say, for instance, you want to do business in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone right now, they're looking for people who wants to do digital infrastructure in terms of building roads, schools, you name it, they're looking for it. Well, we have an expert on our team that's well connected to Sierra Leone. He can get you in the door. He's the same person that can get you in the door in Namibia. If you're looking to do business in Mozambique, our ambassador is there. You want to do business in Nigeria, my ambassador is there. If there are people over there that want to do business here, depending on what state that we're in, we can most likely help them. If we're not in that state, we could connect them to the right resources to get them going. So it's a win-win situation. But the bottom line is, it start with education first.
How can people get in contact with you, sir? And not just you, but with the organization. How can we get in contact with, if they want to join, if they want to learn more about it, and then also, as your community, as your extended community, how can we better support what you have going on?
Well, number one, they can go to gabanetwork.org. That's GABANETWORK.org. Check out the website. They can get in touch with us at info by email at info@gabanetwork.com. They can get in touch with us like that. Or you can go on social media handles, come here on Instagram. You can come on you can check out our web, check out our page at on Facebook, our Black Entrepreneurs Go Global page that we have up. My fintech director, she manages that page. And that page is growing leaps and bounds in terms of entrepreneurs coming in there, exchanging ideas and things like that, posting their information. It's very powerful. Come join us there. But reach out to us. You might want to reach out to us, email us, and we'll get the ball rolling for whoever. As long as you are serious, you're not going to waste our time. As long as you're a team player, as long as you are faithful to your mission first, and if you want to join us and be faithful to the mission in GABA, and be a team player and be strategic, we'll take care of you.
And that's what it is, man. Man, dude, I'm going. We just linked. Obviously, shout out to my big cousin, Paul, man, for linking us, man. And man, I just appreciate, number one, you coming on, and number two, what you're doing. It's a big deal, and I know that the people know.
And I want to say something real fast about your cousin. I've known your cousin 30 years.
Man, I just know.
He's doing a phenomenal job with moving the cultural and urban agriculture project in Inkster. And we meet every Thursday amongst ourselves, a small group of us. It's a strategy session. We take 30 minutes every Thursday to meet. And he's done a phenomenal job of really taking the leadership and taking the life force of this project. And we're talking, he's my curator in GABA. He was one of the key people to help get those murals up. Get those murals up in Inkster, in terms of curating the murals and things. And then my fintech director, digital marketing director, she helped get the resources to get the first mural up. And so everybody on the team is phenomenal. Everybody is it's just a very impactful association. And so your cousin do a phenomenal job and trying to move this thing forward. We're going to get it done in the city of Inkster. Inkster is more of our community development piece anyway, and Romulus is our logistics piece, where we're doing import-export between Africa and us here in the United States. So we got a great team of experts that are getting the job done, and we want people on this channel to join us as well.
And there it is, man. Y'all better make sure if you have any questions. Can I put your do you want me to put your handle, or that's good enough? That GABANetwork.org.
You can put the handle there if you don't mind. GABA Network. People can reach me right here on Instagram, or reach us on Instagram, and we'll connect with you. We'll take good care of you.
All right, man. I appreciate it, man. I want to thank everybody who stopped by to, yet again for another check-in installment, man. And we're going to be back at it tomorrow, to wrap it up for the week, 7:30 Eastern Standard, 6:30 Central Standard. And if you don't know the motto at this point, you sleep, you late, man. If you call yourself a hustler or an influencer, you got to check in, man. Thank you.
That's right.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I'm
you got it. Thank you for having me. Yes, sir. We'll be talking. Yes, sir. All right, brother.
All right.